So, Your Lordship, on the date that the hearing was finished, the Election Commission handed over 32 questions to us, that these are our questions.
Where are those?
Those are also on record.
Page?
The page, I think it's page. I'll just come to those pages in a minute, but I'm just giving a brief. Now, Your Lordship, the 32 questions were also answered in writing by us. And then the Election Commission of Pakistan passed this order dated 22nd 12/2023, in which two things happened. Number one, the election, intra-party election, was declared void. It was set aside by ECP. And then on this basis, the ECP went on to do a second thing, which is that it ordered that the symbol will not be given to PTI. Now, Your Lordship, this order in 22nd 12/2023 has been read before this Honorable Court. But I'd like to summarize what I think is the reading of that. Number one, the impugned order has decided that the intra-party election was held. This is important. Was held on 2nd of October 2023.
December,
sorry, I keep saying October. December 2023. So it was held, they say. They're not denying that it was not held. Number two, they have not pointed out anything in the manner and conduct of the election itself. No irregularity or defect per se in the manner and conduct of that election has been pointed out. Number three, they have accepted that Form 65 and all the documents as required by Section 209 have been duly provided. These three things are important for my arguments. IP was held, they have not pointed out anything, so I don't need to go into many aspects of the election itself. And no documentary dispute. But what they have done, Your Lordship, is given a very circular reasoning, which I call a circular reasoning fallacy. A circular reasoning fallacy, which is actually an absurd reasoning. They have said that your intra-party election is okay, but the General Secretary who appointed the Chief Federal Commission, that is the person who conducted the election, was not properly appointed. And because the Federal Commission was not properly appointed, therefore the intra-party election is irregular. And because it is irregular, we do not accept this election. And because we do not accept the election, we will not give you the symbol. Huge jump, Your Lordship. Huge jump. Taking away the symbol because of an irregularity in the appointment of a General Secretary who appointed a federal commission.
If I may interrupt you, yesterday Mr. Makhdoom Ali Khan was arguing on the technical aspect, Secretary General and all that, and I may repeat for your benefit that the more fundamental question is whether there is democracy in the party, which can only be reflected by an election, valid elections being held within the party. And if that is so, then everything follows. Then you get the symbol, whatever other requirements are. And if that is not, then you run into trouble. So that is at least, if I'm speaking, I speak for myself, my focus will be, if you're talking about democracy, then there must be democracy within political parties as well. So the whole conduct of the elections, not the fine aspects of the elections here as irregularity or there irregularity, but the fundamental point of an elections may not have complied with all the rules and regulations of the PTI's constitution, which is not really the concern of the courts, nor should be of the Election Commission of Pakistan. But the fundamental question cannot be ignored, that members had been granted a fair opportunity to file nomination papers, to contest the election, and there was a semblance of regularity. That much, overcome that much.
I've got that point.
And by simply saying 14 persons came as complainants and said we are not being allowed to participate in the elections, to simply discard them by saying they are not members of PTI will not be sufficient, when at least for one of them, Mr. Akbar S. Ahmed, it has been admitted that he was a founding member of the party. Merely because you don't like what a person says does not mean that his membership ceases. Unless you can show he resigned a political party, joined another political party, or went through some disciplinary procedure and was thrown out from the political party. So I don't know about the other candidates, we've not heard much about them, but don't just simply say they were not members of PTI. How would I know you are a member of PTI? You saying so, and they saying so, there must be some parameters within which one can objectively determine this fact.
Absolutely.
So if it is not added to this, and please hear this is also very important, you used the word malafide in fact and in law. Various allegations, we don't try to be influenced by anything that is said on the media or social media, but your stance is that there is malafide of fact and law before the court of law, the Supreme Court. Now you must show such malafide, because a point which was raised yesterday by Mr. Makhdoom Ali Khan was the fact that, okay, now I'm not in government, now they are hounding me. He said, no, we had raised this point when you were in government. PTI was in government. ECP was a constitutional body and had called upon you to conduct your elections. This has gone back very far back in time when the PTI was in government. So surely, unless you are saying that ECP was so independent a body that even it was proceeding against those in government then, either you maintain that stance that will undermine your stance that ECP has suddenly, the same persons in the ECP have suddenly turned subservient to whoever you want to allege. So, if it was suddenly been brought up, they've been pursuing this matter for quite a while. And before that, either you take the plea that the law of election, and mind you, Election Act has not been challenged, any provision thereof.
I will not.
So whether we will not comment on its constitutionality, because it has not been challenged. It may be challenged tomorrow, and we don't want to, in these related proceedings.
I'm not challenging them. Ji.
So certain provisions were pointed out, then a person will just produce a piece of paper, I've held elections. And would that constitute elections? I'm not going into the nitty-gritty of the elections, mind you. I want to know the general, sort of, every election everybody complains. I mean, it's rare in Pakistan that nobody complains, but you see the general
broader picture.
So you understood what
I have bilkul understood. Ji. And I'm going to address that. I worked on it last night, and I will address both those questions. So, but for the present moment,
Let me start with the facts first, then we come, if we can just start with between members.
Destroy my scheme of arguments.
Okay, fine, okay, fair enough.
पेज 90 के ऊपर
आप जैसे चलें फिर आप चलें.
फेडरल इलेक्शन कमीशन का आपका शेड्यूल है पेज 90 पेपर बुक नंबर 1 में
जी.
तो ये आप जरा देखिए ना, इसके अंदर जो नॉमिनेशन और इलेक्शन कराने का तरीक़ेकार पेज 90
जी. हमने जो पेज
ये आपके नियाजुल्लाह खान नियाजी साहब ने 29/11/2023 को इशू किया
जी.
अगर आप इसमें देखें, नोटिस इनवाइटिंग नॉमिनेशन पेपर्स फ्रॉम पीटीआई मेंबर,
जी सर,
ये वही है 29/11
हो गया जी 29 को.
फिर नॉमिनेशन फॉर्म्स टू बी रिसीव्ड बाय रिटर्निंग ऑफिसर एट इस्लामाबाद जस्ट आफ्टर 2 days 1/12/2023.
करेक्ट सर.
अपील अगेंस्ट ऑब्जेक्शन और रिजेक्शन ऑफ नॉमिनेशन फॉर्म वो भी पहली तारीख ही, सेम डे ही नॉमिनेशन फॉर्म रिसीव किए जाएंगे, सेम डेट ही वो अपीलें फाइल हो जाएंगी. फिर डिस्प्ले ऑफ नेम ऑफ कंटेस्टिंग पैनल वो भी 1/12 ही है. फिर पोलिंग डे एट पेशावर खैबर पख्तूनख्वा, इसमें देयर इज नो वेन्यू मेंशन फॉर द इलेक्शंस, दैट इज ये भी 2/12/2023 को ही होगी. फिर डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ इलेक्शन रिजल्ट बाय सीईसी वो भी 2/12 को ही होगी. और नोटिफिकेशन ऑफ इलेक्शन रिजल्ट जो है वो 3/12 को होगी. जस्ट ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड यस्टरडे आल्सो कि जो आपका प्रोसीजर है इसके अंदर वो नॉमिनेशन फॉर्म कहाँ से लेने थे, वेयर वाज द वेन्यू मेंशन इन दिस, how to collect the form, nomination form, where the nomination form is to be submitted, because I also asked the question that how many members you have. I think it is more than 8,50,000.
जी.
तो इसके अंदर जो बात चीफ साहब भी आपसे कह रहे हैं कि वो ट्रांसपेरेंसी इलेक्शंस के अंदर थी, कौन लड़ सकता था कौन नहीं लड़ सकता था, by simply saying अब आपकी 15 कंप्लेंट वहाँ गई हैं ईसीपी में.
जी.
ईसीपी में सो मोटो नहीं है ये एक्शन. Somebody has filed complaints and the action was taken on the complaint not by ECP so moto. आपके अपने सर्टिफिकेट 65 पे न्यू आई है कि 15 कंप्लेंट फाइल हो गई वहाँ पे. तो अब उन्होंने देखा इन सब चीज़ों को, तो उस पे हम ये पूछना आपसे चाह रहे थे ना कि ये किस तरह का प्रोसीजर था.
मुझे आई अंडरस्टूड द पॉइंट, आपका जो पॉइंट है,
क्योंकि जब आप लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड की बात करते हैं तो आपकी पार्टी में भी तो लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड होनी चाहिए ना. जब वो मेंबर्स को भी तो लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड मिलेगी, जो करना चाहता है इलेक्शन, जैसे चीफ साहब ने डेमोक्रेसी की बात की, तो मैं ये बात भी आप उसमें ऐड कर रहा हूँ कि उनको भी तो मौका मिलना चाहिए ना.
मैं
जीते हारे वो उनकी नसीब में इलेक्ट होते नहीं होते. और फिर सारा दारोमदार आपके अपने पीटीआई के कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पे है, उसमें आपने इतना ट्रांसपेरेंट प्रोसीजर बनाया हुआ है कि वो दैट्स वेरी गुड कि आप उसमें सारी चीजें, बट इफ यू फॉलो दैट वुड बी ए बेस्ट ट्रांसपेरेंट इलेक्शन ऑफ एनी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी. अब वो बीच में लैकिंग नजर आ रही है, इसलिए ये सारे सवालात उठ रहे हैं.
बिल्कुल ठीक है सर. मैं आई गॉट दैट.
You may ignore the, with respect to Mr. Makhdoom Ali Khan, he may get upset, but you may ignore the minor points. I mean, we are more focused on this, so I'm just telling your mind, and we want to save time also.
I appreciate,
because every election we will find some this particular form not submitted, that thing not done. Okay, we will be charitable there.
ठीक जी ठीक. So your lordship, coming back to my point, so एक order है जो इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ पाकिस्तान ने किया जिसमें उन्होंने कहा कि होल्ड हुआ था. They have not pointed out anything in the manner, but I will still satisfy the court जो आपने पूछा, लेकिन they have not pointed this out. They have simply said the appointment of the general secretary and the appointment of the federal commission. So they have not questioned कि आपने एक दिन में क्यों किया या 2 दिन में क्यों किया या अनकंटेस्टेड क्यों था वगैरह वगैरह. So that is important to note कि as far as the election commission is concerned, they have no cavil with this. Your lordship has raised a question which I'll be answering with documents shortly. But for the time being, the order does not say it. Now, Your Lordship, they have done two things: taken away the, not just declared this election void, but also jumped and taken away the symbol. So, एक चीज है कि आपको election
वो तो हमने note कर लिया. आप please proceed.
Now, what is a symbol, sir?
I know, we know what a symbol is. No,
But a symbol, Your Lordship, is a fundamental right. I want to point out that.
When you say this, you'll have to back it up.
I will back it up.
We are not denying the importance of symbols. If you want to know, we realize the checkered history of Pakistan and how political parties have been hounded. So I think it started with the elections of the Pakistan People's Party, which let me just
उससे पहले भी जा सकते हैं.
बहुत पहले जा सकते हैं. At least when I was I mean we can go to Ayub Khan and all that, वहाँ से भी जा सकते हैं. But जब political parties वाज़े तौर पे आ गई, अयूब खान का तो खैर आप वहाँ जाना चाहें वहाँ चले जाते हैं, मगर in recent memories and those political parties which exist today, let's put it this way, the first brunt was received by the Pakistan People's Party. The sword was, I think, the symbol.
तलवार.
फिर वो पहले non-party election ये वो वगैरह हो गया. फिर the second brunt, then the parliamentarians and various other things. Then the second brunt was the Pakistan Muslim League. But be aware of the fact who was in government then. Today, was there a Supreme Court which had taken PCO oaths, judges, any act will not be challenged. So we must bear in mind those were far, far, far more difficult times.
Yes.
There's no comparison. Maybe you can say, yes, it continues today. You may say so. But today, your opponents are not in government.
They're not.
We use the word casually, establishment. Why don't we use the word honestly, army? There does not apparently appear to be any interference. You may allege there is, but you know the overt kind of stuff, unless you point out, matters are coming, the elections are not being held. It was your own petition we argued, which we pressed it in 12 days. We got the date, you were happy, everybody was happy when. So access to courts is there. It's not that nobody allowed you to file. Making allegations on the media or outside